King Nebuchadnezzar made an image of gold, 90 feet high and 9 feet wide, and he set it out on the plain of Dura in the province of Babylon. Then he summoned all the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and other provincial officials to the dedication of the image King Nebuchadnezzar had made. When all the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and other provincial officials had assembled and they stood before it, a herald loudly proclaimed, "Peoples, nations, men of all languages, this is what you are commanded to do. When you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of music, you are to fall down and worship the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar has made. And anyone who does not do this will immediately be thrown into a blazing furnace." So, when they heard the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of music, well, they fell down and worshipped the image of gold that King Nebuchadnezzar had set up. At this time, some astrologers came out and spoke against the Jews. They came to the king and they said, "O king, live forever. You have issued a decree that anyone who hears the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of music is to fall down and worship the image that you, O king, have made." There are some Jews whom you have placed over the affairs of the province of Babylon who pay no attention to you, O king. They neither serve your gods or worship the image that you, O king, have made. And when the king heard this, he was furious, and he summoned Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. And he asked them, "Is it true that you neither serve my gods nor worship the image that I have made?" Now, if when you hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the zither, the lyre, the harp, the pipes, and all kinds of music, if you were to fall down and worship, very well. But if you do not, I will have you thrown into a blazing furnace. Then what God can save you from my hand? Then these three young men replied to the king, "O king, we do not need to defend ourselves before you in this matter. For the God we serve is able to rescue us from the fiery furnace, and he will deliver us from your hand. But even if he does not, we want you to know, O king, we will not serve your gods or bow down to any image. When the king heard this, he was furious, and his attitude towards them changed. And then he ordered the furnace heated 7 times hotter than usual, and he commanded the strongest guards in his army to tie up Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and hurl them into the blazing furnace. Then these men, dressed in their robes, trousers, and turbans, and other clothes, were bound and thrown into the blazing furnace. But the fire was so hot and the command so urgent that it killed the soldiers that carried them up. And then these men, these 3 young men, tightly bound, fell into the blazing furnace. Then Nebuchadnezzar leapt to his feet in amazement. And then he summoned his advisors and asked, weren't there 3 men we had tightly bound and thrown into the blazing furnace? Why, certainly, Your Majesty, they replied. Oh, look! I see 4 men, unbound and unharmed, walking around inside the fire. Then the king sent one of them. Looks like a son of the gods. He approached the opening to the furnace and called out in a loud voice, Meshach, Shadrach, Abednego, servants of the Most High God, come out, come here. And these 3 young men climbed out of the fire, and all the satraps, prefects, governors, advisors, treasurers, judges, magistrates, and other provincial officials gathered round them. And they saw them. They were completely unharmed. But their clothes were not scorched. Their hair was not singed. There was no smell of fire on them. The king then said, Praise be to the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, who has sent his angel and rescued his servants. They were willing to forfeit their lives rather than serve or worship any other god. They remained faithful to him and disobeyed the command of the king. Therefore, I decree that any peoples, nations, men of any language who say anything against the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego shall be cut into pieces and their houses turned into piles of rubble. For no other God can save in this way. Then the king promoted Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego in the province of Babylon.